Okay, so Queen Hatshepsut, we're still working in our purple politics box. So for Queen Hatshepsut, Hatshepsut was one of the few women to rule Egypt. She was the daughter of one pharaoh and the wife of another, so she understood what it was like to be part of the royal family. When her husband died, he left a son named Thutmose III, who was too young to rule. So Thutmose II died. His son, who should have been the next pharaoh, was too young to rule. And so she decided to make herself Egypt's new pharaoh. She would send traders out by sea to expand Egypt's trade network and to bring in more wealth for the kingdom. However, some Egyptians did not want to bow to a woman. Now, I will give you a moment to type this out in just a minute, but I need for you to hear what I'm saying now, and then I'll give you time to finish typing. So please stop typing for now so you can hear what's going on with Queen Hatshepsut. So remember, she was the daughter of a pharaoh and the wife of another pharaoh. Okay? When her husband Thutmose II died, since the son was too young, she understood and knew that if something didn't happen, well, one, Egypt would fall into like civil war, and two, other people would try to take the throne. And she kind of liked being in the royal family. So she goes and decides to make herself Egypt's new pharaoh. Misogyny was a thing back then as well. And so some people did not want to bow to a woman pharaoh, and they felt like a woman could not be pharaoh. What is misogyny? Was that going to be your question? Or no, yes.
I was wondering back then, did they have
Oh, wait, hold on, try something. Experiment time. We're going to see if this works. It's a microphone. All right. Ask your question. Here, hold it and ask your question. Let's see if this works.
Was anarchy a thing back then?
Was anarchy a thing back then? Thank you, sir. Anarchy's kind of always been a thing. They didn't necessarily call it anarchy, but do you remember how we started off class learning about theocracy?
Yeah.
And remember how I said whenever you hear ocracy at the end of a word, it lets you know who or what is in charge in that government system? So like democracy, demos means people. A democracy is a rule by the people. A theocracy is a rule by religious leaders. A or an equals not, right? So whenever you see a or an as a prefix, it means not. So anarchy would mean no leadership, right? Yeah, that's not us. Okay? Yep, next bell we go. So, did they have anarchy? No. Did they have strife and problems? I'm not going to answer that because I'm going to answer it later in this slideshow. Okay, so keep that question in mind. All right. When you come back from lunch, here's what is going to happen. The lights are going to be blue. You may work in class. You may work in the neighborhood. What you're going to do is you are going to click onto this video, and I'll show us how to get onto the video. You are going to watch the video. With the information that we have highlighted plus the video, you are going to fill out a famous person chart on Queen Hatshepsut. Problems she had to overcome, how she overcame them, her good qualities, her bad qualities, things that she did, and then you're going to evaluate was she a good leader or not. Okay? So when we come back, that's what you're going to be working on? Yes, sir. Oh, wait, let's try this again.
Where are we going to put the things?
How do I do it?
You just talk.
Where do we put the things on the famous person chart?
That's a fantastic question. When you come back from class, I'm going to give you another famous person chart. Remember I told you I was going to give you one that's front and back-sided? So you're going to get another one, and that's where you'll put that stuff. Thank you. All right, so we'll see how you all sounded and came out today. Because remember yesterday, no, I just went ahead and did audio. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and reread this for the recording, and that should give you more time to type this out, and then we'll talk about what it means. Ramses II became pharaoh at a young age and ruled for 66 years. That is the second longest reign in Egyptian history. He spent the first half of his time as pharaoh fighting in Canaan and Syria. Keep that in mind for the Mr. Nicky video, because when Ramses starts talking, there's a reference to this in the video. These conquests were difficult, but it brought Egypt wealth and power. He used that wealth to build more monuments than any other pharaoh. When he died at over 90 years of age, he was beloved throughout Egypt. So again, big thing we need to know about King Ramses II. He was pharaoh for 66 years. That's a really long time, right? If you have the same leader for like 66 years, is your country going to be probably pretty calm? Yeah, probably, right? He spent the first time of his fighting. So there were lots of wars, but because of those wars, Egypt grew stronger, they grew more wealthy, and they grew more powerful. Okay? And we should remember where the Fertile Crescent is, so that should make sense where they were fighting. They weren't fighting necessarily close to home. Now, he used that wealth that he got from conquering the Fertile Crescent to expand Egypt. He used it to build obelisks and pyramids and statues and things like that. Okay? So he used that power in a really good way to help Egypt. Remember, if you don't have all this typed in, which you should, but if you don't have all this typed in, you can go back and refer to this video later to get the information. Okay? The 3 ages of Egypt. No, not Mr. Nicky, the video that I'm going to put on of me doing this. Historians call the time from 2686 to 2125 BCE the Old Kingdom. It was the start of a unified Egypt. Then civil wars would plague Egypt until about 2055 to 1650 BCE. That's the Middle Kingdom. Egypt would then suffer from invasions and more civil strife until the start of the New Kingdom at around 1550, which ended in 1070 BC. The New Kingdom was the height of Egypt's power and prosperity. However, the New Kingdom would eventually decline and end due to invasions from the Assyrians, the Persians, and the Greeks. So I know there's a lot to type here, and I'll give you a moment to type it in just a minute, but I need for you to listen and hear what I'm saying. So, if you look at the timeline down here, this is important for you to know because it kind of explains what each kingdom was about. The Old Kingdom, that's when all the pyramids and stuff were built. So the things that we normally think of with Egypt, that was the Old Kingdom. And the Old Kingdom lasted for about 550 years. Okay? After that, it fell apart and people were fighting and there were civil wars all over the place for like a long time, right? For almost 200-300 years. And then there was the Middle Kingdom, and the Middle Kingdom brought Egypt back together. The Middle Kingdom lasted for about 605 years, and it was a time of peace, but it wasn't a time where Egypt really grew. And then there was more problems and stuff like that for about 200 years. And then there was Egypt's New Kingdom. And the New Kingdom is when Egypt was its strongest. This is when they made more money. This is when you have like King Ramses. This is where Egypt was a super world power. And the New Kingdom lasted for like almost 500 years. It's like 480 years. So in addition to our stuff that's highlighted here, make sure you're kind of understanding what each kingdom was known for. Okay? I am going to give you, because this is the last like slide that we needed to know for our politics of Egypt. So you can go ahead and finish writing the stuff that's highlighted into the purple box of your Grapes notes. Once you get that done, you may put your Chromebook away. Any questions on that? Awesome.